probably not unique, but 2020 was a year where I reconnected with video games in a really big way. I played things I missed in the last 10 years or so. I found new genres to love. I found communities and shows that helped me discover what I really loved about games. And among all of that, we had one of the best years for gaming in a very long time. If you're new here, my name's Matt. I make videos where I give you deep takes on tech, on gaming, and other things I'm passionate about. So if that sounds interesting, hit the subscribe button and sit back, because these are my top 5 games of 2020. 13 Sentinels is a game that is hard not to spoil, and it was a late addition to this list. 13 Sentinels is a callback to so many other pieces of sci-fi media, and honestly, if I listed all of them, it would spoil some major plot points. But primarily, the game hits on a trope of Japanese teens in mechs defending the world from kaiju. You've seen that before. The game has 3 modes. It's got Remembrance, Destruction, and Analysis. Remembrance plays like a visual novel, and you know how I love my visual novels. This is the meat of the game, and in it, you can choose to play as any of the game's main characters. Every one of the game's 13 protagonists is enjoyable and has a compelling story. I kept thinking I wouldn't be interested in one of the main characters, and then their route would just blow me away. Some of the characters I hated after the prologue became my favorites by the end of the game. Destruction is a mech-based real-time strategy game, and I'd forgive you if you got 30 to 40% through this game and still felt like the Destruction and Remembrance modes were too independent from one another to be considered part of the same game. But believe me when I tell you that this game paces itself masterfully. Destruction is connected to Remembrance. Even if it doesn't feel like it yet, you'll get there. In fact, that's a theme throughout the game. The stories of the 13 characters the game lets you play do seem connected from the beginning, but it's in a way that feels like you'll never be quite able to understand it. However, due to some clever gating of progress, repetition of information, and matter-of-fact delivery of major plot reveals, you will get there. And if you struggle, you've got Analysis mode to fall back on. Analysis is mostly a log of the events that you experience in the visual novel. It is the least important of the 3 modes, but I want to stress that it is still an important part of the game. Analysis mode will change and shift and grow as you learn new things about the world of 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, and as you, in turn, put more of that story together. I had such a blast playing 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I spent 4 evenings sitting in front of my TV and several mornings tapping on my phone in bed via remote play, just tearing through this game and literally screaming at certain reveals. If you're looking for a stellar game that people are not talking about much, 13 Sentinels is it. Treat it like a TV show that you'd binge over a weekend. It's probably better than 9 out of 10 of them anyway. Here's another one I don't want to spoil for you, but what I'll say is that Gita Jackson at Vice wrote an incredible review of this game that talks about how the Miles Morales of Insomniac somehow manages to perpetuate police propaganda in a year when that message falls flattest. Gita's takes are good and right, and they're hard to ignore while you're playing, and I totally understand if that turns you off from playing at all. But if not, I think you're going to find a lot to enjoy. Spider-Man Miles Morales takes everything I love about an open world game and condenses all of it into an experience that is tight, super well paced, and perfectly manageable. It does not overwhelm. Spider-Man Miles Morales is great because it's small, it's tight, and it's to the point. It builds on the strengths of the already stellar standard-sized AAA title Marvel's Spider-Man from the PS4, and a remastered version of that game is included with the PS5 copy of Miles Morales. All of the incredible web swinging and a combat system that I personally fell in love with are all there, but that was all already built when Miles Morales started development. So while I wish that more games were smaller and didn't use terrible labor practices to meet arbitrary deadlines to deliver unnecessarily massive games, I don't think that Miles could have been what it was without the existence of a Marvel Spider-Man on PS4. That game was huge and technically intense. I haven't heard anything about bad labor practices from Insomniac, but those things are made worse by bigger, more sprawling games, and that's my point here. I just see a vision of a future where games don't have to be so large, and the people making them don't have to be treated so poorly. I see a vision where the games that I enjoy fit better into my life and don't attempt to consume every minute of my free time. Those are the games that I want to play. The last thing I'll say about Miles Morales is that it's a story of family and friendship, and it centers around one friendship in particular. That relationship really struck a chord with me, and if I get down to it, it's the true reason that Spider-Man Miles Morales makes it into my top 5. So much has been said about Animal Crossing New Horizons, but I can tell you how I experienced it. I originally bought Luigi's Mansion 3 instead of New Horizons, and then I found out exactly how many people were gonna play Animal Crossing. So I bought it and started playing. My husband watched me play, he made fun of it for a bit, but then he created a villager on my island and he got sucked in deeper than I was. He got so into this game that we ended up buying him another Switch right before resale prices skyrocketed in April. We moved our second television into the living room so that we could play together. I went to shooting star wishing parties with a group of internet friends I've had for several years now. We tracked turnip prices together, I filled my museum, I got on voice chat with many of you that are watching right now and had a reason to talk for the first time in years with some of you. This is corny as hell, but it was the most social of distance. And it was a good time. To be honest, I loved playing Animal Crossing so much, but I am very burnt out on it. It absolutely does deserve its spot in my top 5, but I just can't get back into it yet. I played a bit last night, and I had a good time. I just don't know that I can put as much of myself into this game as I did back then. I'll get there. I may even hop in for the holiday stuff. We'll see. Here's a little bonus one for you. Good Sudoku by Zach Gage. It's Sudoku, but it takes all of the tedious parts, the writing down the little numbers in the corners, the running your fingers across the lines, all that busy work, and lets you actually play the game. For some of you, that stuff is the game. Great. Good Sudoku is not for you. But for me, the game is not about penciling in the numbers or whatever. It's looking at the state of the board and saying, given this, what can I know? And Good Sudoku teaches you how to think like that. It teaches you how to be better at Sudoku without all that extra stuff. So go play it if you've got an iPhone. There are 34 minutes of me talking about Kentucky Route Zero on this channel, and I didn't think that I had much more to say. And while I don't think I do have much more to say about the game directly, there's a few things I have to say around it. And the first is that Ben Babbitt released an album as Junebug, the robot music duo from the game, and it's great. You should go buy it on Bandcamp. The second is that when I made the Kentucky Route Zero video, it hadn't dawned on me yet why the game was so resonant for me, but it's obvious. In the United States at least, 2020 was a year where we grossly mismanaged our response to a global pandemic, refused to take care of our people, and politicized disaster response. It was a year when the fear of the economy being ruined if businesses were closed ranked higher on people's list of concerns than if people died or faced long-term health risks if those businesses were open. It was a year when we failed to provide financial support to the people of our country so that they could stay home and keep their families safe. And it was a year where so far 293,000 people have died in this country because of these mistakes. When I wrote this line, this number was 276,000. And I'm terrified to know what it'll be when you're watching this. It was a year when many of you lost jobs, lost family members, and had to figure out how to make do. And just before all of that, in January, a game about capitalism preying on the people of rural Kentucky and squeezing them and their home dry of anything of value was completed. Of course that resonated. Hades is a game about escape. I played a lot of Hades in a parked car outside of a hospital. I was playing chauffeur for a family member going through treatment for a serious illness. After 7 months of being at home, pretending as if the lockdown never ended, the trip I took to take care of this person was the first time that I'd seen humans indoors that weren't my husband since March. Besides, like, the grocery store. After all the time inside, the thing worth getting out for was sitting there in a parked car, because that's what this person needed of me. If you don't know, Hades is a roguelite, a genre of games which are actually derivative of roguelikes. There are many elements that are important to a roguelike, but some of them that we'll focus on are permadeath, meaning that when you die you lose everything and must roll a new character and start a new run, procedurally generated maps, turn-based gameplay, and tile-based graphics. And roguelikes are hard, but the pleasure comes from getting good at them through run after run after run after run. The progression, I'm told, is all in your head. But roguelites acknowledged that there was something valuable about the roguelike, but that value was still there, even if you didn't lose everything when you died. The progression could be in the game, even just a little bit. Hades does this by introducing darkness, a currency that you can collect each run to buy perks that improve your chances in the next run. Now, this progression might be enough for many to get over the frustration of getting farther than they've ever gotten just to die to an enemy that they didn't see in the corner, but it's not enough for me. And Supergiant Games knows that it's not enough for a lot of players. So what Hades does to alleviate this feeling is brilliant. It writes each death into the narrative and takes that chance to tell you a story. Like I said, Hades is a game about escape. You play Zagreus, son of Hades, who is super pissed at his dad and trying to escape the underworld. He's got Knight Incarnate, Nyx, his mentor Achilles, and the Olympian gods on his side. As he fights through Chamber of Hell to Chamber of Hell, the Olympians leave him boons, essentially power-ups that make things easier on that individual run. The chambers randomize, the enemies somewhat randomize, the chamber rewards and boons randomize. All of this allows you, the player, to learn these mechanics, exactly how they function, and eventually tailor your build to maximize each run. Combined with the perks that you've unlocked with your darkness from the mirror that Nyx gives you access to, you learn the game, get better and better, get more powerful no matter what, and climb further towards the surface. And every time you die, you get the chance to talk to all your friends back in the House of Hades, to progress their story more, to romance them, to help them in their romances, to give them pets. Hades has such a fine-tuned progression mechanic built into a subgenre of game defined by its lack of progression. It's astounding. And then it masterfully introduces narrative into that progression, something no other roguelite has done to this level of success. Many of us spent this year inside, directionless if only because direction implies we're going somewhere. I spent this year desperate to escape, to get out of my apartment, to get out of this town, to demand justice, to take care of my family that needed me, to jump back to the timeline where average people didn't believe in harmful conspiracy theories, to keep my friends and family safe, to just make things not so bad anymore. At the beginning of the pandemic, I read an article that said game mechanics like progression and reward systems could help alleviate the malaise that we all felt during early quarantine. Hades did a little more than that. I didn't want to spoil anything, but I think it's important to say that you do escape. And when you do, Zagreus enters into a frozen ancient Greece. You can find out the rest of the story for yourself, but for now, I'll leave you with what I think is the most beautiful moment of a video game this year. When this is all over, I hope that this is what escape feels like.